Hi everyone. So I decided to do a series of videos on different baby items simply because I just had a baby. Well, just is relative. He's 8 months already and it's gone by super fast. And I found it really overwhelming when I was trying to decide what items I needed to buy, from which were great, which weren't, which were necessary, which weren't. And so I found it super helpful to find YouTube videos. So there was great moms out there who decided to make videos about different items and different reviews about what items worked for them. And I found that very helpful. So I thought I would join into the culture and make my own videos as well. So I decided to start with a comparison of baby bottles. I found I chose to nurse, so I chose to breastfeed. However, I would love to be able to bring my baby to his grandmother's so that he could get babysat. I get a little bit of a break. Also, it was important to me that his father was able to participate in the feeding process. So I was able to get a pump. I actually went with the Medela swing, and it was great. And so then it was the challenge next was trying to find the best baby bottle that he would be comfortable with and happy with. So I had to go through a couple bottles. So this is where my review comes in. So like I said, I went with the Medela Swing pump, and it actually came with the Calma bottle. So this is the Calma bottle. And it was my first bottle. It was the only options I had at the time, and it was pretty great. So what the awesome thing about if you get the Medela Swing pump is that the bottle actually connects directly to the pump, and therefore once you're done pumping, you simply just put the nipple on and away you go to baby. However, there was a couple issues I had with the Calma bottle. One, the bottle itself has a number of different pieces. So it actually has like the top, and then the actual nipple in it dislodges from this middle part here. And then it has this other part that it clips into, and then you actually attach it to the bottle. So it's fine in one sense, like if the whole purpose is to mimic the breastfeeding process and to mimic what it's like for them to latch onto a breast. The problem with the many pieces for some people would be simply that it's too many components. So for some people that would bother them. It didn't really bother me. It was fine. It's a little extra work for cleaning. The actual two problems I had with the Calma bottle was one, particularly because it was the first bottle my baby ever used. So he actually started using it as of only a couple weeks old. So I think he was only about 2, maybe 3 weeks when I tried him on the bottle. And it was only because I was having such a hard time with breastfeeding. He was perfect. He was latching on perfectly fine. And if anything, he was a little too aggressive. But I was actually in a lot of pain. So to give myself a bit of a break and to heal, I decided to start pumping, which was the greatest decision I made because it helped my breast to heal so that I was able to continue breastfeeding, and we've been breastfeeding up to 8 months now. But the problem that I originally had when he was so tiny was that he, like I said, was kind of an aggressive drinker, and when he would latch on, he would suck so quickly that this part of the bottle fills up with milk. And the purpose was, it's designed so that the milk brings him to the front so that he is forced to control the flow with his tongue, just as he would if he was breastfeeding. But I found that the flow was way too heavy for him. He would pull in the milk really quickly, and then he wouldn't be able to control how much was in his mouth. So he would be fine. He wasn't necessarily choking. Sometimes he would, but for the most part, it just meant that a lot of it was leaking out of the sides of his mouth. And for many of you who have pumped, it's such a, you know, long process, and so therefore when you lose even just a little bit of milk, it feels quite painful. So sometimes it would feel like he would be drinking and he was getting his milk, but it felt like he was only getting 2/3 of whatever he was drinking, because a third of it was pouring out down his neck, on the side of his mouth, and so forth. So especially my husband, he complained about it a lot and didn't like how messy it was and how little milk it seemed like he was actually taking in. The other, like I said, the problem with that is the fact that not only was it leaking, but so it was messy for him, and you were concerned about what he was actually taking in, but also it was just a messy process. So that was my problem with the Medela bottle. It was just the twofold issue of it being too much of a heavy flow, and then on top of that causing leakage while he was drinking. So my next bottle actually was the Avent Philips bottle. And the interesting thing about this bottle is it has the least amount of pieces. It's just the bottle itself, and then the detachable nipple goes on the inside. You can pull this out. And I actually got this from Time Maternity. They were handing out samples, and bless the heart of the woman who was selling me my maternity bras, she gave me 2 samples of this bottle. And at the time, I was just starting off with the pumping and the breastfeeding, and I was dealing with, you know, the very painful breasts. And so when she handed me this, I thought, oh, this is awesome, because I was already planning on heading out to Toys R Us, Baby R Us, and trying to find some new bottles because I didn't like the issues I was having with the Calma bottle. So she gave me this, and we started with this, and it was awesome. He absolutely loved this bottle. There was very little leakage. I read some reviews online. Some people complained that the bottle had leaked, like either the nipple site here or from the bottom. I'm not entirely sure, but I never had a problem with it. Like I said, I had 2 of these, and it was never an issue. He was more than happy to drink from them, and he drank from them up until about 3-4 months, and then he went on a bottle strike. It had nothing to do necessarily with the bottle itself. I think it was just, he got tired of, he just preferred the breast. And so by then it was fine, because I was happy to be full-time breastfeeding again. It just made it a little bit difficult for me to leave him behind, so it just meant there's no more babysitting for a bit. But I really enjoyed this bottle. It's really simple, really straightforward. I didn't have too many problems with him being gassy or anything like that. I obviously function, depending on the nipple, we use the newborn to 3 months nipple, and it has the graduated system. So particularly when he was really young, I never had an issue. The flow seemed perfect. There was very little chokage, very little spilling. Seemed like he was getting almost all of the milk, so it was great. And my last bottle was, I have the Born Free bottle, and it actually is the glass version. I just liked the idea of a glass bottle, and just because of the whole lack of chemicals, and it's easy for storage and so forth. But it's just a preference. It has nothing really particularly to do anything. That was just my choice. Someone blessed me with this at my baby shower with a series of 3 of these bottles. And it, like the Calma bottle, has actually a number of pieces. I'm laughing because my husband in particular has a strong issue with how many components there are to this bottle. So it has the nipple, and then of course the neck. It has this handy dandy little covering, which is just to stop the milk from leaking if you're traveling with it. And then it's got this component on the inside, and then this other plastic piece that sort of fits inside of this. And all of this contraption is simply to prevent gassiness and to help a control of flow. And this is just their patented version of trying to do the same thing that the Calma bottle is trying to do. I definitely didn't find, he didn't use this bottle nearly as much. He it wasn't really to the fault of the bottle, I don't think, because like I said, he went on a bottle strike, so I hadn't been using any bottles for a little bit. But he did actually latch on perfectly fine, but I did find that the nipple is quite long, and my little boy seemed kind of perplexed by it. Sometimes you kind of just stare and play with it. I think he found it a little long himself. I'm not quite sure why. But he didn't particularly like the shape of it. So he would drink from it, but he didn't really enjoy the shape of it versus, like I said, the Avent bottle has a different shape. It's actually much shorter and sort of wider. So you can see the comparison there. So it's very different. And he definitely preferred this bottle to this one. Now it could be also a preference. Obviously every woman's breasts and nipples are shaped differently, so maybe this, the Avent bottle, mimicked mine more clearly. I'm not entirely sure. But I did like I actually enjoyed this bottle in terms of like how much it could carry, and basically the flow seemed perfectly fine. I didn't have any issues that way, but like I said, he didn't enjoy it as much, and there is a lot of pieces, so that would definitely be a con against the Born Free bottles. But I would have liked to try use it a little bit more with him. But at this point, he's actually kind of graduated to sippy cups and straight regular cups. So he no longer cares for any bottles whatsoever, and at about 7 months, he decided that he really didn't want any bottles, and he's more than happy to drink his milk from a cup. So it's a good thing, of course, but that is my little review of the Medela Calma bottle and the Avent Philips bottle and the Born Free. So stay tuned for more videos. I particularly plan to do some more videos on the things that I found were really, really useful, and also, as well, as everyone knows me, I really like to be able to find items for a good price. So I really believe that you can have a baby on a budget and be able to find many things and have a wonderful nursery and a wonderful experience for the baby without shelling out thousands of dollars. So I plan to share little tips and videos about that. So thanks, and take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.